Wedding preparations are made. The Shulamite and Solomon are about to be husband and wife, as each express their love, appreciation, passion, and attraction for each other. And Paul encourages us to walk worthy of our calling. Today on 3-in-1, as we consider Song of Songs, chapters 4 through 6, and Ephesians chapter 4. Well, today we are working our way through some mature subject matter. So kiddos, make sure that your parents listen to this podcast first. We read this today in our reading. You are beautiful, my darling, beautiful beyond words. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair falls in waves like a flock of goats winding down the slopes of Gilead. Your teeth are as white as sheep, recently shorn and freshly washed. Guys, I bet you never said that to your gal, have you? But back then, all this made sense. This was all meaningful. This was all beautiful. And if you can imagine, this was there every day in the beautiful countryside of Israel with flocks and herds and daily duties living off the land. You'll notice that the young Shulamite woman has said several times now that she is dark. Her skin has been tanned by the sun. She's often outdoors. She's working. She's tending. And so Solomon was saying things that would be definitely meaningful and beautiful to her. Saying things like, your neck is as beautiful as the Tower of David, jeweled with shields of 1,000 heroes. Your breasts are like two fawns, twin fawns, of a gazelle grazing among the lilies. And yeah, Solomon's getting a little steamy here, isn't he? And it's in the Bible, and it's not inappropriate. I mean, remember, God is the original, hopeful, romantic, and He included all of this in His holy word. And there is much more where that came from in this Song of Songs. Veiled and some not-so-veiled references to the passionate physical expression of love between husband and wife within the confines of the commitment, the covenant of marriage. See, the marriage relationship between husband and wife is to be committed and passionate and regularly intimate. And Paul addresses this issue in the New Testament directly in 1 Corinthians 7, saying, the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time so that you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. Now, there's no veiled references there, is there? But before you use this as an exhortation for your spouse, I want you to consider something. What was the only reason that Paul said that you should stop having sex for a season as husband and wife? What was the only reason that Paul said that you should stop for a season the physical expression of love and intimacy between husband and wife? He said so that you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. He said so that you can give yourself to a season of experiencing something even more intimate than even the physical expression of love between husband and wife. And here is a litmus test, and this may be a little bit tough for you. If you would be unwilling to pause physical intimacy for a season so that you could devote yourselves more completely to spiritual intimacy, then sex for you is selfish, and it's not intimacy. See, intimacy is defined as close familiarity, friendship. And that may be a shocker for you, but if sex for you is not an expression of that, if it's not an expression of the close familiarity and friendship that you have with your spouse, then it is only a selfish physical release. So, if we can continue this conversation as mature Christians, the Song of Solomon is an allegory, and Jesus desires true intimacy with us. No, not the physical expression, the spiritual expression, but still true intimacy, close familiarity, friendship. We are, after all, the bride of Christ, and in this covenant relationship, our Jesus desires for us to be committed, passionate, and regularly intimate with Him. Close familiarity, friendship. Listen, I know the back and forth can be uncomfortable, but it's true. Jesus wants true intimacy with you. He wants to know all about you. He wants to know what's on your heart, what's on your mind, your hurts, your pains, your troubles, your questions, your fears, your quirky eccentricities. Like, I know that my wife always sneezes in pairs. No one else knows that. Well, I guess now everyone knows that, but no one else knew that, just me. And that is the true joy of a committed, passionate, and regularly intimate relationship. True friendship, close familiarity, the fact that someone knows you intimately and still loves you. That should astound you and bless you and spur you to return the favor. So the Lord longs for this with you. And here's where it starts. Start carving out time, making the time to give time to Him, just Him, to walk with Him, to talk with Him, to share with Him what you would have a hard time sharing with anyone else. That's where friendship starts. And friendship, familiarity, is the foundation of intimacy. Man, who feels convicted today and exhorted today? I do. Whew, man. Okay, well, we're not done yet. We still have our New Testament reading in Ephesians 4, where the Apostle Paul encourages us to walk worthy of our calling. Now, what does that mean? Well, listen to that first verse in the New Living Translation. Paul said, "Therefore I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, for you have been called by God." Well, that helps us with what a walk means. It's one step in front of the other. It's the daily duties of living life. But what does it mean to walk a walk or live a life worthy or of our calling? What does that mean? Well, it means equal on a scale. So in this relationship between you and God, God has placed some things, some blessings, some gifts for you on one side of the scale. Gifts like salvation, redemption, forgiveness, eternal life. And now Paul is begging us to try and balance the scales by living a life of blessing back to the Lord. But how could we ever do that? I mean, how could we ever actually balance those scales? I mean, what God has given me will forever far outweigh whatever I could give back to Him in response. But so what? That doesn't mean that you don't try. Bride of Christ, here is your opportunity to respond to just how good your groom has been to you. Out of the overflow. Out of the overflow, endeavor with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength to balance those scales. That's what love does. Love does the improbable, the impractical, the impossible. You know, I'll climb the highest mountain, I'll swim the deepest ocean for you because I love you. But if you read today, you'll remember Paul's encouragement in how we can respond to the Lord's love was much more practical. And it had to do with loving your neighbor as yourself. It had to do with bearing each other's burdens. It had to do with unity and maturity in building others up. See, Jesus said, "If anyone loves me, he will keep my word. He will keep my command. And my command is this, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command you." So, on one side of the scale, salvation, redemption, forgiveness, eternal life. And Paul says, I beg you, try and balance it out. And Jesus says, here's how. Love one another as I have loved you.